Hi, it's time for Vacation Under the Volcano, Chapter 7 and 8. Chapter 7 is called The Sky is Falling. The next thing Jack knew, he was lying on the stone patio. The patio stones were trembling. A rumbling sound came from the ground. Jack raised his head. Annie was on the ground too. "You okay?" said Annie. Jack nodded. Everything was shaking and crashing down around them. Pots, plants, the mermaid fountain. Water from the goldfish pond sloshed onto the patio and Jack and Annie. They both jumped up just as roof tiles began falling into the garden. "We better get inside," said Jack. He grabbed his leather bag. Then he and Annie stumbled into the scroll library. Giant cracks split the stone floor as Jack and Annie ran to a window and looked out. Glowing rocks were bursting through the sky above Mount Vesuvius. The whole top of the mountain had blown off. "What's happening?" said Annie. "I'll check," said Jack. He pulled out the Roman book. He read aloud from the section about the volcano. When a volcano erupts, hot, melted rock called magma is pushed to the surface of the earth. Once it gets outside the volcano, it's called lava. "Lava! That's like burning mud," said Jack. "It covers everything," cried Annie. Jack kept reading. There was no running lava from Mount Vesuvius. The magma from the volcano cooled so fast that it froze into small grayish-white rocks called pumice. A pumice rock is very light and has holes like a sponge. "That doesn't sound too bad," said Annie. "Wait, there's more," said Jack. He read on. A great cloud of pumice, ash, and burning rock shot miles into the air. When it rained down on Pompeii, it completely burned the town. "Oh man," said Jack, "this is a major disaster." "It's getting dark," said Annie. Jack looked out again. A thick black cloud was spreading over the earth like an umbrella. The sun vanished as the sky turned smoky gray. "That must be the cloud of pumice and ash," said Jack. Just then the ground trembled again. Chunks of plaster from the ceiling fell on the scrolls. "We have to get out of here," said Annie. They ran from the scroll library into the garden. Ash and pumice began to fall. "We have to cover our heads," said Jack. They hurried from the garden into the dining room. "Look, pillows," said Annie. "Let's put them on our head." They hurried to the couches beside the table and each grabbed a pillow. "Tie it around your head with your belt," said Jack. They both pulled off the belts from around their tunics. Then they tied the pillows on like giant hats. A chunk of the ceiling crashed down near them. "Let's get out of here," said Jack. They stepped over the pieces of falling roof tiles and ran into the main hall. They pushed open the front door. A blast of heat and dust nearly knocked them over. When they stepped outside, the pumice rained down onto their pillow hats. "Run!" cried Annie. They ran from the vacation villa into the dark, burning streets. Chapter 8. Nightmare at Noon. In the distance, fire burst from Mount Vesuvius. Burning rocks and fiery ash fell from the sky. The hot, dusty air smelled like rotten eggs as Jack and Annie rushed down the street. In the forum, everyone, shoppers, soldiers, gladiators, fruit sellers, was running in every direction. Stalls had collapsed. Carts were sliding. Jack froze. He didn't know where to go. "That way!" shouted Annie. Jack followed her as they ran past the Temple of Jupiter. Its mighty columns had fallen, and its walls were crumbling. They ran past the public baths, just as the roof caved in. "Which way now?" shouted Annie. "The tree house is in the olive grove," Jack said as they kept running. "The olive grove and the bridge are near the street with all those open shops," said Annie. "Remember the bridge?" Jack looked up at the erupting mountain. A red-hot cloud billowed over it. Fires burned on its slopes. "Head in the direction of Mount Vesuvius," he said. "It was behind us as we came into Pompeii." "Right!" cried Annie. So while others ran away from Mount Vesuvius, Jack and Annie ran toward it. On the street with the open shops, baskets and broken jars rolled over the cracked stones. Jack and Annie ran past the bakery and the shoe shop. They ran past the butcher shop and the barber shop. All the shops were empty. Their owners had fled. The closer they got to the volcano, the more the ground trembled. The darker and dustier it got. "This is just like my nightmare," cried Annie. Jack choked on the rotten fumes. His eyes watered. "Look, the olive grove!" shouted Annie. "The tree house is just over there. Come on!" Jack could hardly see, but he followed Annie. They left the street and ran into the dried up stream near the olive grove. "Where's the bridge?" cried Annie. They looked around wildly. The bridge had vanished. Chapter 9 is called Save Us. I'll be reading 9 and 10 tomorrow. And then we'll be doing our favorite part of Jack and Annie. So think about that after you digest what I've just read. And always remember, Jack and Annie always come out of everything just fine. So no need to worry. It is a little scary, but they will be perfectly fine. So until tomorrow, I will see you soon.